Hello, everyone, and welcome to Firelink Podcast, episode number 44 for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. I'm Marty Sleva, as always, joined by Casey Wosu, Nick Calandra, and, of course, producer Eric. And have we got a show for you today? This,
do we?
dare I say, is going to be the greatest podcast we've ever done.
Wow. No pressure.
This is an episode 50, right, Marty?
No, this is episode 44, unless my numbers are off, because I thought Windbreaker was episode 49, and apparently it was episode 50 this week. So
we're going to celebrate episode 51 next week.
I don't know how anything works. But welcome everyone. We got a wonderful show for you today. We're going to talk about big developments from one of the most acclaimed Japanese developers who's left his longtime position at Capcom to start to join a new studio under the umbrella of Tencent. So we'll talk about that. Maybe a little bit of a sprinkling of predictions for the Game Awards, because I feel like we're hours away from getting those Game Award nominations. And we don't need to go far into it, but the question I'm going to posit is what 6 games are getting that Game of the Year nomination? That's the question I want to posit. And then that's going to sort of lead us into the topic du jour, which is a couple topics combined, which is the state of the current console generation, because this week marks the 4th anniversary of the release of both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And then we also got the PS5 Pro just came out, and Phil Spencer sat down and gave some interviews to Bloomberg and to Stephen Totillo with some interesting tidbits on where Xbox is at right now. So sort of just doing a little unpacking, if you will, of where everyone's at right now. I don't know. We put a Switch in there just because. Like a little brother, you like to invite them to things.
Something will happen.
Yeah,
at some point.
Have fun. They live in a post-generation world. And then of course all the stuff we've been watching and playing. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, it's been raining all day here. If you hadn't told me it was fall, I would have thought it was spring the past few weeks.
Yeah, seasons do not mean anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's over.
Yeah, global warming. It's just one smeary blob across all 4 seasons, which we like to see.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to bring up, because we missed last week for several reasons, that some stuff happened that I feel like I don't know, we're probably not the best place for this sort of news, but I feel like it's something we would have brought up had we been here.
Sure.
And it got overlooked. Tony Todd died.
Yes. And actually, that is going to tie into something I'm going to talk about later.
Okay.
Because he's the antagonist of the new Indiana Jones game, which might be his last game.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he very recently was the voice of Venom in the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And Quincy Jones died. Famed music producer. He's responsible for so much legendary music. Yeah. And I felt like that just kind of went like a blip because of just everything else that was happening last week.
Yeah.
But that's a big deal. But the thing is, he was 90 something years old. That man lived a life.
Yeah, that guy was deep into his career when he was producing Thriller. He had already lived a life that he's hey, I'm going to produce Thriller.
His daughter's Rashida Jones, who is also just doing great. So you know what? Great job. Yeah. Well done. That's how you do it. That's how you live a life.
Quincy Jones. The Tony Todd one was really sad too. Not all deaths are sad, but that was one of those gone through a little bit of Lance Reddick and everything. The other year when just a fucking bummer. Tony Todd is so good. Jesus.
Yeah.
Candyman. He's the greatest. He's the best dude ever. No, he's not the best. Well, I don't know. A lot of those people have it coming. But he's his performance as Candyman is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, he's just been low-key, sort of this background Hollywood known. A lot of people probably never just knew his name, but he always had a presence. And it just sucks that he didn't get to live his Quincy Jones-esque life.
Yeah, he's also known as he's the harbinger of fate in the Final Destination movies. He's the dude they keep going to because he understands the whole rule of death in Final Destination. Also,
I did not know that.
Near and dear to my heart, the Quincy Jones song that might mean the most to me is he produced Soul Bossa Nova, which is the Austin Powers song. As much as I love Billie Jean, that's him.
I did not know Quincy Jones produced that.
Incredible, right?
That's amazing.
So that's a life well lived when you produce Thriller as well as the Austin Powers dog. So good for him. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna be honest. I got worried when you were like, "There's some stuff we need to talk about from last week," and I was like, "Oh no."
So, do we have a business thing we didn't know about?
It was sad. Wasn't that sad?
I thought you wanted to talk about the election. I was like, KC, what are we doing?
I didn't know where you were going to steer us. I didn't know where you were going to steer us, but I was excited no matter where it was. Before we move on to our news biddies, a couple super chats came in. Thank you so much to folks. Obviously, folks who support us over on YouTube using super chats when we stream on Twitch. People who support us on Twitch. All of our incredible patrons. Which, of course, this weekend we're going to be holding a big ol' almost 11-hour, 10-hour 1-year anniversary stream on Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Central. We'll all be there. All your faves will be. Yahtzee will be there. Jack will be. Darren will be there. Guys, I don't know if I could break this right now. You know what Darren just messaged me like an hour ago?
Ooh.
He bought a Switch.
Oh.
He's like, I bought a Switch, and he said, quote, my Saturday morning is going to be me doing a Mario Kart training montage like in Rocky to get ready for my segment.
Did I put him on the schedule for Mario Kart 8 and not knowing he didn't have a Switch? I thought he had he always talks about Nintendo. I thought he had a Switch.
No, because he had a Super Nintendo. Which is
that's dedication. So Darren didn't even say to Nick, "Hey, I don't have a Switch. What should I do?" He just went and bought a Switch.
He didn't tell me that.
That's like deeply Irish to him, which I love. But yeah, please tune in for that Saturday. We'll be streaming all day, all sorts of fun games. Return to Dokapon as well, so tune in for that. But of course, our super chats, Bookworm. Thank you so much for a $2 donation. I'm still rocking my 3DS. You know what? I cracked open a 3DS over the past week. I kind of want to save a lot of that talk for tomorrow, though.
Like you cracked it open to play it, or you cracked it open?
Oh no, I cracked it open in a good way, not in a bad way. It's still functional. I opened it because I've been listen, you know what? I've missed Metroid because we didn't do Metroid last week. I've been missing Metroid. I've been playing a lot of 2D Metroid games, and I've done all the Game Boy Advance ones, and now I'm on to Samus Returns, which was a 3DS game. And let me tell you, that game's hard to play. Very hard to play. But I'm glad you're still rocking your 3DS. I play I have a 3DS that may or may not have every 3DS and DS and GBA game on it through extremely legal means, and it's great. I'm a big fan of it.
Don't let Nintendo hear that.
You just said it live.
They're too busy making sure Cranky Kong doesn't kill a child at the opening of the Donkey Kong Country theme park. That no youngling gets gored by Rambi the Rhino. Old Hunter 77 with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Since I got free tacos, you get my taco money. You know what, Old Hunter? Congrats on getting free tacos. Taco Wednesday.
What an accomplishment.
Do you remember when LeBron James tried to? I feel like I bring this up a lot. Tried to trademark Taco Tuesday because I feel like like the fucking gall of that. Like Taco Tuesday is for all.
He's not even a restaurant though.
It's the man. Also, I don't associate him with taco.
Where did that come from?
Dunks. Like if you want to do like Dunk Friday, okay, you could do Dunk Friday.
Well, he probably just wanted to be like Shaq, because at Papa John's you got the Shaq pizza.
Christ, I was already picturing of LeBron James with a taco in the corner. That happened so quick. That's not even on the docket.
That was very fast.
That's incredible. You never fail to impress me, Eric. Far frogs, too many less. Far frogs than too many less. I fucking did that on purpose. I feel like they changed their name on purpose.
That name has been jacked up.
Me up with the $5 dono. Thank you so much. I've been doing more console things amidst long COVID after being a PC gamer for years. To me, it feels like the needles barely moved. We'll definitely be getting that's definitely something we'll be getting into. And then Fat Cock, welcome Fat Cock, friend of the show, $5 dono. So I've heard that SIG is trying to quietly lay off staff.
The makers of Star Citizen.
Oh no. I thought they held like StarCon though. Didn't StarCon happen? And they're like, it's coming out in 2026. It's coming. Didn't they say?
No, not Star Citizen. Squadron 42, the single player thing.
You know what? That game doesn't deserve for me to understand what game switch. They haven't earned the right for me to differentiate between the games.
They can't lay people off until they've at least released the game, I feel like.
No.
I thought they can. Nick, I'm still waiting for that expose. Or just for you to play 10 minutes of it, just to tell me what it's like.
I think Jay has told us that he has actually put money into
Why are we not doing a
some
stream?
Star Citizen.
By the end of this year, we need to stream this game.
Okay, well, the last
You'll
stream
go
of the
to
year.
hell.
I'll do it on our last stream of the year.
No.
Well, not December 20th, but the day before.
Okay. Your pre-live stream. There you go.
Yeah.
Everyone get excited.
Sounds like something else.
That absolutely sounds like something else. Jumping into news quick. The first bit that we mentioned here from GameDeveloper.com, Hideaki Itsuno, the director behind games like Dragon's Dogma, Devil May Cry 5, a longtime Capcom employee. He's been working since the 90s there. Left Capcom earlier this year. Felt like it was like on one of those good on good terms, said he was excited for the future. And then the news dropped today that he is joining a Tencent subsidiary studio called Lightspeed Studios. They're opening a Japan studio. And he's going to be heading the team and working on a 3D character action game, as you would expect from someone like him. So Lightspeed is a name that I wasn't familiar with, but I did some Googling, and they have it's a studio under the Tencent umbrella that has locations worldwide. They have LA locations and Singapore locations in England, and they kind of made their mark by doing PUBG Mobile. But then they also revealed a game last year at the Game Awards, which I'd forgot until like an hour ago, called The Last Sentinel, and it was just a CG trailer, but it looked almost like Ghost in the Shell mixed with Terminator, kind of like a near future Tokyo. It was like a cinematic trailer of like a person fighting some dudes, and then it turns out she's a cyborg, that kind of thing. But that game is going to be a AAA narrative driven open world game, they said. So didn't sound like multiplayer, didn't sound like free to play or anything like that. So this is a game.
The Last Sentinel or Itsuno's game?
The Last Sentinel is a game that sounds like it's going to be an open world AAA narrative driven non-microtransaction-y game. And Itsuno's game sounds like it's going to be a AAA character action game. So, what
like in the vein of Devil May Cry.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So obviously when people hear Tencent, they tend to a little bit, like understandably, any of those big companies that kind of Katamari a ton of studios and talent and have questionable sources of money can lead us a bit astray, but I don't know. Itsuno's games are really cool, and if he gets a level of freedom here that maybe he felt like he didn't have at Capcom, which is interesting because I feel like he's been working on like Dragon's Dogma 2 was like had to be a pet project, right?
Yeah, that was kind of like a reward for like a job well done in other areas. It seemed like.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because Itsuno, is he like one of the last like big name Capcom dudes? Because like almost everyone else has left, right? Like
I mean Shinji Mikami left.
Shinji Mikami.
Kamiya left.
Kamiya with Platinum, who has now left Platinum.
Who is does Street Fighter have like their own Harada? Well, Harada Tekken. Oh no.
Yes.
Is that a man?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think that's a real name. He dresses up with Blanca a lot. I feel like if I was working on Blanca games,
Yoshinori Ono.
Yeah.
All right, so he's still there.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it's the same. Like Resident Evil has a bunch of different teams now. There's no like maybe Capcom's just getting away from that idea of like a single. Does Monster Rancher like have a dude? Not Monster Rancher, Monster Hunter.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know who like if there's like a singular entity that leads that.
I mean, maybe they're just getting away from that. Like maybe, I don't know. Maybe
I don't think it's by choice. I think it's just by all those developers are like, we made a ton of money. We want to go do our own thing now and not be tied to franchises forever.
Yeah. And that's the interesting, like we mentioned those, a lot of those names you mentioned earlier with Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil and most recently The Evil Within and stuff left that studio. And then Kamiya left Platinum. And so, and both of them have not announced what their next things are, but I could envision a thing like this, like them landing at a place like this, or, getting kind of deals where I imagine Tencent just cut him a fat check and he's probably like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Yeah, they can do that.
Yeah. So, something worth keeping an eye on. Obviously, this game, I imagine, will not be coming out for a very long time, but yeah.
The Eastern market has been really interesting to watch because they've been so focused on gacha MMO games and all that for so many years, and they seem to be actually doing what the Western publishers should be doing, is taking that money and funnel it back into new single player projects and all that, instead of trying to create live service after live service after live service game. Genshin Impact, and in the Chinese market, MiHoYo has every live service game under the sun, and they're all huge. That's a studio specifically designed to make those games, but I think NetEase and Capcom, even Capcom was trying to get the MMO market. They just canceled that Blue Protocol thing and all that.
Keep forgetting that, yeah.
A lot of the Korean publishers are getting into single player stuff, because NeoWiz, they did a lot of MMO stuff, and they made published Lies of P.
Yeah, so, we just got the news that Shift Up, the studio behind Stellar Blade, this week the big thing was showing off the Nier collaboration, but they said the game's coming to PC next year, and then they also said that they're opening a Western studio that's going to help, and they want an animation arm to this thing. So,
I think I just came up with my unpacked topic that I needed earlier today.
Well, you say that one for the future. There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Say that one for a rainy day, because this story's never going to end. For being perfectly honest, but it'll be something it'll be interesting to keep an eye. Also, I feel like every one of the last several Jeff Keighley showcases, whether the summer ones or the winter ones, are. It's possible that we're going to see a game from some of these studios. So, we're going to see one of those games where we're like, oh, what is this? It's a new IP. And then you click into it, and it's, then you look into it, and it's one of these games from, they use their money from the gacha market and ended up, burgeoning into the AAA space, which is always cool to see.
Why aren't more companies, I guess, copying that? You mentioned earlier, Tencent's endless pockets feels dubious, but isn't it just from good investment? They give everyone a lot of money, but then they have hands in just all of these actually very popular IP. So that money they just get paid back for all the investment that they've made. They kind of make good choices, and they back quality products, and they just ask for a little piece. They don't ask for control. They don't say, now that we've put money into this, make it the way we want. They just kind of let the people they give money to cook, and that seems to have been working out.
Yeah.
Different.
I don't. Maybe that is something that's going to be happening now. Maybe the floodgates are opening for that. I don't know. We'll see. Also, apparently, apologies. I did a lie. Stellar Blade is coming to PC, but the LA studio and Netflix thing were not confirmed. I blame Eric for that, because I just read a tweet that Eric shared. I did no further reason. Mario 64. How are we supposed to live in a society where we can't trust Wario 64?
I just trust the deals. I don't know if I trust the news.
Deals I can't trust, dude. For shame, Eric. No, for shame on me for not doing just the smallest bit of due diligence on that. Just a single click, and I could have figured that out. And before moving forward, Fatcock back with a $50 dono, a Shiba Inu dressed with a sick ass helmet, saying you're amazing. I don't know how that works.
It's a samurai regalia on that.
I would play this game. What if Ghost of Tsushima, the next one, just start Ghost of Shiba Inus? Sure.
Nailed it.
I think maybe I'll probably play the one they're making instead of this one.
Real quick, one thing you forgot earlier on the Patreon is, if you are not signed up yet, you can get 15% off any tier, both monthly and annual.
I didn't forget. I just didn't even know that. That wasn't something I forgot. That wasn't even knowledge I had.
You were in the meeting yesterday. We didn't have a meeting yesterday. It was Monday.
What meeting?
I don't know what's going on. Leave me alone.
You forgot. Forgot with what? At what point when I was talking did I forget that?
You can't forget something you didn't forget in the first place.
But nothing I was talking about was about that.
Yeah, that was
thank people for being patrons. I didn't even tell them to subscribe on Patreon. I just thanked them.
It's okay. You forgot that you also forgot. It's just gaslighting at its best.
Great work, everyone involved.
God bless us, everyone. And Zoobmare with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Zoob. Marty's suggestions not available on my device. Wait, all my suggestions, like my mobile device, my mobile game suggestion. Oh, do you got an Android? If you got an Android, I don't know what's going on.
Wait, what's not available on Android? That's available on other stuff.
I don't know.
I don't know what
Zoob was talking about. Several weeks ago.
This was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, when you made all your mobile game suggestions, and they can't play any of them.
I don't know what to tell you. Also, 2 weeks ago, I've emptied that recycling bin. I don't remember any.
No, I remember some of the stuff you brought up were things that were part of Apple Arcade. I don't know if they've been freed from that. I don't know if Apple Arcade is still like a thing that's running.
But Apple Arcade is still a thing.
It is still going. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I pay $5 every month to someone.
More like a Zoom problem than a you problem.
Oh, Zoom. That sounds like a Zoom problem more than a you problem. Is really good. Okay, you
put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that on a fucking t-shirt. 15% off for y'all. And before we get into our main topic, I did want to touch on so the Game Awards are what are we 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks away from the Game Awards. Thursday, December 12th. Of course, we'll be doing our usual watch-along shenanigans, but we're also right at that point where we should be getting nominations any day now. I would not be surprised if they were literally tomorrow. And we'll also be doing our windbreaker thing where Yahtzee tries to guess nominees and we talk about them. But I don't want to go deep into it, but I was just wondering, as we get into talking about this generation and this year and everything, what do you guys, 6 games are always nominated, unless they change that. What 6 games do you guys think will be nominated?
Okay.
Dragon Age Veilguard.
You think? Okay.
I'm getting the feeling you didn't do the homework that I said, please do the homework. Is it 2 podcasts in a row you didn't do the homework where I said, please do the homework? How about I start with my list?
I mean, yeah, I did a list, but okay. I did like extra credit as well.
Okay.
So go
you got some OLIs? Outside looking in?
Because all right, I'll just go into it then.
Okay.
I picked the stuff that I feel like will get picked, which was the homework. But then I was like, I didn't play most of these games.
Sure, yeah.
So like, here's the stuff that I would think needs a place on this list. So I just kind of made a second list of stuff that I've played that I think would make the conversation. And there's maybe like one crossover thing possibly, but I think Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is definitely going to be a contender. Like that's probably like the best Call of Duty in several years. A lot of folks seem to have said. I had a great time with the multiplayer.
It also reviewed very well. Like it got 9s at IGN and stuff. So, and these are the people who are some of the part of the voting block.
Right. So I think that's a shoe in for a nomination at least. Astrobot seems to be a hot topic of conversation. I don't get it. I've also not played it, so I'm not gonna like weigh in super heavily. But like, just
get it.
Like that. Like it was the same with the other one, the Astro's Playroom. Like folks were raving about it. I put time into it and was like, this is doing nothing for me. And so like this sort of bigger sequel looks very much the same. And like nothing about it or nothing I've heard about it has like convinced me that it's something that I should give a try. Like I probably will continue to bounce off of it is my guess.
Yeah.
Balatro's going to get a nomination. That's just
on my list. Yeah.
Super hot.
Not on my list of I would not give it a nomination because I don't understand that game. But I think that will get I think that'll be one of the 2 indie games.
Other people like it, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? 3? I think Metaphor Refantasio will get a nod, which that'll be like the dark horse. Helldivers 2 because they want to like they want to pay homage to the success it's had, even though it will not win. Like not a run in for winner. And I think see, this one was a bit of a toss up. Maybe Pal World for similar reasons to Helldivers 2, but one game that I did play a ton of. I think ZZZ could get a nomination, and I think it would deserve that 6th spot more so than say a Pal World or Helldivers 2.
Johnny ZZZ, look at you. You still ZZZ in every day?
Not every day, but yeah. When I get some time, I do hop in, put some time in. It's a great game. They keep adding new shit.
I share 4 of those with you. I do think Balatro, Helldivers, Metaphor, and Astrobot are going to get noms. My last 2 there are Animal Well. I think is going to get also indie game representation and a nod. And I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to get.
I completely forgot that came out this year,
and I think it's actually going to win. I think that is going to. I think
that'll win the whole thing.
Yeah, I think there's enough nostalgia in the voting base, and it also came out early enough in the year to where it's a weird thing because it's one of those. If it came out early in the year, are people going to remember it? Is it fresh in their head? But if it came out early in the year, you had a longer tail to play it. Whereas like Metaphor only came out like a month ago, and the voting for this stuff had to be done a few weeks ago. So like you need to have clipped that game quick. I do think it'll be nominated, but I don't think it'll win. My big question mark is I don't know what Shadow of the Erdtree is. I don't know if it's possible if that can be nominated. I went back and looked at nominees for every Game Awards, and there's never been DLC or expansions as a nominee.
So that probably disqualifies it then, right?
I just don't know. There also hasn't been like a kick-ass expansion or DLC really that's deserved.
But I think they separate those out, right? They usually have their own sort of expansion / DLC category.
Yeah, there's like an ongoing.
Something like Blood and Wine wasn't nominated or didn't win. I would be shocked if Shadow of the Erdtree was nominated for Game of the Year.
Sorry, what was the first part of that?
Blood and Wine, the Witcher 3 expansion.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I guess not. And, I mean, like, the Game Awards does love FromSoft. Jesus, I forgot their name. Sekiro won Game of the Year for 2019 and Elden Ring won for 2022. So I feel like they're just gonna. I don't know what the voting rules are. I don't know. I imagine this will be an ongoing though, but it's tough because that might be even like when I talk about like what's my favorite game, but like I don't know where I put Shadow of the Erdtree. Like I don't know if in my head if I consider it. I almost consider it in like a remake, kind of like nebulous in the same place where I'm putting like Silent Hill 2 and like Persona 3, where it's like
but those get nominated. Like remakes absolutely get nominated for Game of the Year.
I mean, I just thought Final Fantasy VII was going to win. That's a remake, so what do I know?
That is, you're right. That is a remake.
It will be.
Do you think we missed any games? Do you think there's any standouts there?
Yeah. All I was going to say is Shadow of the Erdtree is I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and just kind of thinking about like how little it stuck with me this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it when I played it, but like I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Just didn't like. I think maybe just because it wasn't as fresh as Elden Ring was at the time, it just didn't. Stick around as long. But
it was kind of just more Elden Ring, right? Like it didn't. Do too much different.
Yeah, my 6 would be Astrobot, Metaphor, Animal Well, Balatro. What was that 4? Helldivers 2, I think is definitely going to be up there. The last one, like, well, obviously it'll be Final Fantasy. That'll be up there for sure. I'm always iffy on remakes. I was looking through like the list of the most highest rated games this year, and it's like kind of shocking the amount of like just remakes that are up there. It's Final Fantasy, Silent Hill 2.
It's all anyone's putting out, really.
Persona 3, Paper Mario.
Yeah, the interesting thing is none of us mentioned a Nintendo game to be nominated Game of the Year, which I don't think, like, I like Zelda, I liked Paper Mario. I don't think they're gonna. I have mixed feelings on Brothership, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, it's end of console life releases right now, so they're not putting their best stuff.
Yeah, on it's not like even their B teams make interesting things. It's just that their A teams are assumedly working on games for the next console.
Yeah, I do think Metaphor is going to take it actually, though.
I would love that.
It'll take Game of the Year, you think?
I think so. Just it'll be more fresh in people's minds, and I think I don't know.
I think Balatro's got it.
There are a lot of Balatro boys out there.
Yeah, and it's been a while since like an indie thing has been crowned king of the games. Like they like the last couple have been like high profile big AAA things. So like I think there's going to be like a shift of folks being like, we want to recognize the smaller stuff again.
If Balatro wins over Animal Well, that's going to be my Stray moment. That's going to be me just losing my goddamn mind and be like, you can't. I know these games are different, but you can't do this.
But then you're going to have play Balatro so you can really understand why you hate it.
I already tried playing it. I just don't get it.
Somebody in chat mentioned Wukong. Listen, like get off Twitter before the Game Awards go to Blue Sky, because if that game's not nominated, that's gonna be a stolen election.
Yeah,
bullshit.
I mean, Wukong and Stellar Blade, like I feel like they had their moments, but like no one's.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they had their moments.
Stickiness that a Devil May Cry 5 or a Sekiro had.
They had their moments elevated by culture war nonsense. I mean, like they're both fine games, but they're both neither one
fine.
Neither one tells like a story that sticks with you or anything like that. They both very good looking games. Stellar Blade has way better gameplay than Wukong, I would say.
Agreed.
To be honest, this Nier DLC though, I think that might get me to Stellar Blade.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll play through it when it comes to PC.
Yeah, like Stellar Blade's got good combat. The world just bored the absolute hell out of me. It's just a desert, the entire thing.
The character is a piece of paper.
Yeah. And then Wukong's combat, I like it, but no, I don't like it. Actually, I stopped playing.
Yeah, it frustrated me. Like I tried to give it as much of a chance as I possibly could, and it was like I don't like how this feels.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll have more obviously once the actual nominees for everything come out, and then of course, like I mentioned, 4 weeks from tomorrow, the three of us should be doing our regular watch along shenanigans. So tune in for that. Before we move on to our main topic, a couple more super chats came in. Denmark, thank you so much for a $5 dono. Teal goal thing, neat. Let me just say, this will let me say something really important. Persona 3 Reload is bad because it's too easy and the redone music sounds worse.
You paid those.
Denmark, gotta play Metaphor. What are we doing, Denmark? You're gonna be so happy when you play Metaphor. Oh my god, there's a democracy moon in the sky. There's good music. You're gonna love it.
Democracy moon?
There's a moon. There's a democracy moon.
Mentioned Pacific Drive. Did that come out this year?
Came out this year.
What the fuck? Oh yeah,
it came out this year. Fucking Like a Dragon Hawaii came out this year.
Well, maybe that'll
Unicorn Overlord came out this year.
Unicorn Overlord came out. Jesus, I can't. That is insane that I put 40 hours in that game and I have no memories of it. Like that's bad on me. I actually think I played all of it while crushing X-Files tapes. So that's like
that'll do it. That's why you don't remember anything. Stop multitasking. Like it doesn't work. You don't remember the X-Files. You don't remember Unicorn Overlord. Nothing.
I don't remember either of them. It's bad.
Did we not? Casey, you didn't play Like a Dragon, right?
No, I did not.
Marty, you did obviously. Like
I did.
I'm kind of surprised neither of us included that on the list. Just too far gone.
Not too far gone. I just don't think. To me, it's like in a tier below, which isn't a bad tier to be in, but it feels like. I
know
all the games we mentioned I think are good. Like I like this Call of Duty campaign more than I've liked one in ages. But I just in my mind, just sort of a tier below.
Yeah, I know. For me, I at least like the first Like a Dragon more than this one. I think that was a share.
Yeah, maybe it was more novel. Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with you there. And then Zoob's back with another $2. Thank you so much, Zoob. The games are too old. My tablet is too new. Zoob's, this is a me problem. I don't know any new games.
The games are too old. That's not a thing, right?
I don't think so. Maybe
like a
Zoom
new tablet.
Maybe Zoom just wants something to like really show off a new tablet. The games I'm recommending.
What tablet? Yeah, what tablet did you get? Didn't they launch like Resident Evil 7 on like whatever new iPad?
I got an email that Resi 2 remake is coming to iPad. I'm like, who's playing this on iPad? What are we doing? Death Stranding is on an iPad. What are we doing?
Yeah, just do that.
If the nominations are possibly this week, somebody's asking as well about like any more new games coming out this year.
Nope. Nominations are, I'm sure the cutoff is already done. So no Stalker, no Indiana Jones, no Marvel Rivals.
Which means what would they miss next year's award cycle too? Because they came out during that.
I think they do include like whatever is just after their cutoff, right? Or no?
Yeah,
they just fall into the void.
Yeah, but it's just that's like the. I get why he wants to do it at the end of the year before Christmas, and it makes sense, but like that just sucks for games. Like there's even like back when I was at IGN, like there was always discussion over like when to do the voting for things, and it's like I remember there was one year, I think 2012, it was like we just did the voting, and then Far Cry 3 came out in December, and everyone was like, "This game's really fucking good." But, That
See, that's
sucks.
why Yahtzee's the smartest person in the world and does best, worst, and blandest at the start of the new year.
There you go. So yeah. Captain President, $5 dono. Thank you so much, Captain President. Slitterhead for Goaty, bookmark it. You know what? We're gonna put on our own game awards. Slitterheads, all the Slitterati are gonna come.
Slitterati.
Yeah, that's what we call ourselves.
God.
I haven't checked in with anyone. That's what we call it ourselves. What a game. And then Denmark with a $5 dono. All right, Marty, you've convinced me. I'll try metaphor. If it doesn't do it for me, I will be very disappointed in you. We'll just start with the demo. The demo's free and it's like 6 hours. And I'm sorry if you don't like it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't even think I've put 6 hours in my playthrough yet, and I've already kind of bounced off it. I'll try to at least get past the 6 hour mark.
You got to get to the Democracy Moon.
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell you
That's
talking
pretty
about.
early on. I feel like
Yeah, I've not gotten there yet.
enters the chat pretty early on. So yeah,
I got to see if it hooks me still.
Yeah, you love Democracy Moon. All right. I guess that's an easy segue into our main topic, which is just sort of an overall overarching discussion of the state of this current console generation. Because, like we mentioned, four years ago, within a week of right now, were the releases of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Honestly, in November of 2020, obviously those were in the midst of the pandemic, a weird time to launch consoles. Which is why the 2021 felt kind of like a weird, as Jay would put it, teething problem year. And then it feels like we started to get those games that we're like, okay, now we're cooking with stuff like Elden Ring. Still a lot of cross-gen stuff. But now we blink and we're 4 years into this generation, and PlayStation has already released the refresh of the PS5 Pro, which Nick has gotten some hands on. And Xbox is already talking about plans for the future. And it's like, we are well past the halfway point of this generation, I think. And so, like, what do we just overall, like, what do we think of the PS5 Series X generation when we think of it compared to what we think about the PS4 generation, the PS3 generation, the PS2 generation, you know, the along with its Xbox companions?
I kind of honestly, when I was writing, I started on a pack script today, kind of talking about this a little bit, and I swapped subjects because my brain wasn't working right. But this, to me, this kind of feels like PC's generation, to be honest. Is really where I've kind of landed on it, because the consoles are constantly catching up with PC now, where it kind of used to be flipped, because like PC ports weren't as popular as they used to be.
You mean ports of console games to PC or PC games to console?
Yeah, PC console games to PC. Because if you remember, like 360 game, a lot of 360 games, PS3 games, like those never came to PC.
Yeah, it wasn't really a thing, right? Like,
Japan just really wasn't considering the PC market until relatively recently.
Did not give a shit about it.
And then this generation's big theme has been like just the advancement of tech has kind of been so quick in the visuals department with ray tracing and all that we're just playing catch up, and everybody's trying to get all that best performance and all that out of there. But when I was like really thinking about it, I was like, there hasn't really been too many games that I would like say are like that pushing the medium forward in like super interesting ways. Because I like, when I think about that, I go back to games like on the 360, like Red Faction Guerrilla, and having an open world with that destruction tech. And since then, we have never seen anything else like that from a AAA studio. Like, there's definitely a lot of indie games that do destruction tech, like Teardown is incredible tech and all that. But like, as far as like anything innovative in the open world market, aside from like, I guess, de-innovating, like Ghost of Tsushima, getting rid of UI to like have the wind direct you around or whatever and stuff like that. Or like Zelda's kind of like free movement through its world. But even that was a generation ago. I just don't feel like we've seen that kind of like, wow, like this can only be done on next gen. Hellblade 2 did that for me in the visuals department, for sure. But
and what did we lose?
It's like not much of a game there, really. And then like the last game that did that for me, kind of in the gameplay department, is Cyberpunk, and like the mega city and everything, and being able to go into all these buildings and the incredible amount of detail and immersion in there. But again, it's all a lot of visual advancements, and we're not seeing, I don't think, like all the game mechanic advancements that I was hoping for from physics and all that. Because another thing that I keep tying it back to destruction, but like the Crackdown 3 original reveal with its cloud tech destruction and all that. Like, where is all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It's like what you're describing is actually so scarily similar to like cell phone advancement, where it was like for a while there, it was like every new iteration was like this sort of leap forward that like gave you all these new features and all these new possibilities of like, oh, what can I do with this technology? Like video game consoles, every generation was very similar to that, where it's like we can do so much now, and here you go. But then we've reached that plateau point where it's like, okay, we have the technology, we just don't have any new ideas. And so the money is being spent to basically replicate that same feeling of like, well, it's that time of year where we get the new console refresh because that's the market that we built up, but we don't have anything to offer. And like the PlayStation 5 Pro is kind of like the antithesis of that revelation of like, here's the thing that we're supposed to have right now, but we don't know why we have it. Like it's like the cart before the horse almost. And like the money that gets spent to do this is why that innovation slows down, because they don't like, it's too risky now. Like they don't want to give a brand new idea all this funding, but like we'll pay for the sure thing that we got last time because it worked last time. And like that's, you know, that's just how these companies work nowadays.
We also just don't have that in a generation evolution and iteration that we had in prior generations, because games take so long to develop that a team is lucky if they can release one game a generation now. Whereas if you go back to the PS2 and the Xbox generation, at this point in those consoles' lives, so 4 years in those consoles' lives, Kojima released Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. We got Halo 1 and 2. We got Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. We got Jak and Daxter 1 and 2. We got Ratchet and Clank 1 and 2. Like teams were like cooking. Silent Hill 2 and 3. Like teams were releasing a game, learning from it, making their next thing, and then by the most of those teams by the end of the generation had a third game that was like, holy shit. And we even had that in the next generation. Like you saw,
PS3, Uncharted released
Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and The Last of Us in a single generation. Like it is crazy. Yeah. And now we have gotten no new Naughty Dog games this generation. We've gotten like remasters of The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2 and Uncharted games, but we've got no new games. And we'll probably get one. I can't imagine we'll get two this generation.
We got a TV show. What about
that? And so that is the thing that, like, I don't know, in my mind, like that the generation just seems weird because you don't see that like internal growth of a studio or a franchise in a small span of time that you did back then. You know, there's always it's like it was a 4-year span in the PS1 generation that Square released Final Fantasies 7, 8, and 9. Like that's crazy. Like we just don't get that anymore from anyone. I guess the closest thing is like an evolving game is to look at a live service game and be like, look at what it looked like 4 years ago compared to now. Like what Destiny 2 looked like in 2017 compared to what it looked like in 2021. That kind of thing.
Funny you bring that up because Blizzard's Overwatch, they're currently doing their classic promo.
Everyone's doing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like WoW was doing it too,
yeah,
right?
Fortnite does that, yeah.
Yeah, and Fortnite is doing it.
Nostalgia from 4 years ago. Yay.
Everyone's complaining about how broken original Overwatch was. They're playing it like, oh shit, this is what we have now is actually way better.
Fucking rose tinted glasses. I love it.
Oh,
yeah. I just don't know if do like generations exist anymore in the traditional way?
No, like, I don't think they have in a while. Like I don't think it has since PS4 and Xbox One, really.
Especially because so many of the games came out for PS4. Like so many games this generation were still also they had older ports, older versions for the PS4 and the Xbox.
Development is so slow now that we're re-releasing PS3 and Xbox 360 games.
Yeah,
with, Lollipop Chainsaw and Shadows of the Damned. And all that stuff.
They opened a dusty box and found Slitterhead from the PS3. We're like, we'll release this.
I do think like the truly next gen feeling games aren't far off though, because we have GTA coming, which I think is I mean, I would be surprised if that's not a generation-defining game technology-wise too. And then I have a pretty good feeling the next Battlefield is gonna like wow people. Just considering where the franchise has gone and Vincent Pella and what he's kind of talked about, like we need to get Battlefield back to the forefront of things. And destruction, people have been asking for destruction for years, and if Vincent Pella does listen to the fans quite well, so I think you're gonna see that, especially. I did it again, especially when Embark Studios and the finals and like the destruction tech there. That is a next gen feeling game to me with the destruction of those maps and everything. So like so that stuff is out there. It's just not coming from the publishers that we're used to. Because like I haven't played Shadows of Doubt, but the way Yahtzee described it would be, that to me feels like a next gen experience with how the detective system works and all the AI and all that going on in there. And but yeah, like some other games I was thinking about when I was kind of working on that script was like Killzone. One of the big talking points for Killzone 2 and 3 was like how reactive the AI was to the combat scenarios and all that. And like
this was what they showed off wasn't real.
No. Even in the real games, like 2 and 3, like to this day, people still make videos about how good the AI is in those games, and Fear as well. Mm-hmm. Like we haven't. We talk about AI. It's just how to cheapen things now instead of like, man, those bots were really good at reacting to your movements and trying to flank you and everything. Like, when's the last time we've heard a game like advertise that over? Oh, we have ray tracing reflections.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's all about the tech rather than the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been playing with your PS5 Pro, right?
Yeah.
What I mean. I legitimately, via YouTube videos, I can't tell a difference, which maybe that's like how this kind of stuff works, is it's like, YouTube compression and is not a way to show this thing off. And I know I've watched some like Maximilian Dude, who's a fighting game streamer, YouTuber, who's also obsessed with Final Fantasy VII, was freaking out over how good Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks on the Pro, which is a lot of people have said is like the best looking, the best like Pro visual upgrade. Have you like noticed anything that really stood out to you, or is this just sort of stuff's a little bit better?
It's a little bit harder for me to notice, probably because I've been playing on a 4090, which is still even more powerful than my PS5 Pro. So like the game I really like, I ended up getting it because I was like, okay, Dragon Age came out. It has this fidelity mode. It has this performance mode. Like this feels like the most recent game that would actually give me like a real feel for, does this extra power do it? And so basically, there's definitely a difference. It's not like, oh my god, I can't believe I bought the Pro and it's so fucking amazing because I can see the pores on the grass. Like, no, it's not that mind-blowing. And like if you already have a PS5, like I would not recommend rushing out to buy this thing. Like I think
did you get a PS4 Pro?
No, I never bought a PS4 Pro.
So that launched 3 years after the PS4. That launched in fall 2016, which was 3 years after the PS4. And I remember, again, it did the thing that this one did, where it didn't really launch alongside a kind of tentpole like showcase game. The PS4 Pro did launch alongside PSVR, the original one, which I think they were like, oh, it's going to make your VR experience better, so welcome to the future. And then almost 10 years later, like the future is still not there. Like the games come out and they seem really cool. Like I really want to play that Batman game, the Batman VR one that came out a month ago. But
trying to wrap up all these new games that came out so I can get over to VR, because there's Metro Awakening, Batman that I want to play. Behemoth comes out soon.
You're such a big Metro boy.
I am. It's good. You guys are missing out on good FPS campaigns that you want.
Probably.
Seems too scary.
It's not scary.
I don't know. It seems like there's mutants.
Yeah, it's it's going back to kind of what we were talking about. Just it's cool if you really, really care about ray tracing and all those little, all the little nitty gritty details of visuals. It's worth the upgrade for that. And if you want the best performance, because it's nice having that super high fidelity at 60 frames. Like nobody's gonna Nobody's gonna say it's not, but is it worth upgrading now? No.
Yeah, I can't imagine it is
I can't
at that price
really
point.
justify it.
I saw that scalpers gobbled them up. There's also got to be a better term for scalpers. That has to be offensive in 2024. Cruel resellers gobbled up a bunch of them, and then it turns out there was no demand for their supply.
Good.
So they had to like start selling them.
They're dumb.
Great.
They're dumb.
Yeah.
They deserve what they got.
I
Crippling debt.
I completely agree.
They should start selling them for under cost now. Like I'll only buy from them if it's by loss.
Yeah. That's like the annoying thing about like the pro consoles is like I want to hear why do I need this? What can it do that the PS5 cannot? And like, okay, ray tracing, cool, great, that's fine. But like we had reflective mirrors back in the PS1 generation. A lot of games don't even take the time to do, and we had physics engines that let you break windows in correct ways, and a bunch of games don't even let you break windows in the correct ways anymore. So like, you know, you go back and look, there's like some videos on YouTube that like from Splinter Cell I saw that like show you all the reactive environment details that used to exist in those games that just don't exist in games now. And like you shoot a water tank and the water like slowly, you know, seeps out of it, and today you shoot a water tank and it just blows up. Like there's all those little details. Like those are the details.
You sure it was a water tank that blew up?
Yeah. Yes.
Why is this water exploding? Guys, you want to know what game I just played that still looks good as hell? Rise Son of Rome.
Yeah. I saw the stream highlight clip.
So good. It looks so good.
It's actually not surprising to me at all that still looks good.
It's still very boring to play. Like it is still like it is like Hellblade boring to play. But it was very pretty for a game from 11 years ago. Hachi Machi. Yeah.
I mean that's how you do it. You want to get as pretty as possible, you strip all that gameplay the F out. That's how you make it work.
I didn't have my microphone plugged in so I could scream at them to gather around me for a phalanx or fire arrows or something. I was like, no, I'll just hit this button. Thank you though.
Does that work? Well, you play that on the PC or on the?
No, I played it on Xbox. There was a way to scream. I was talking to my microphone though because I was streaming it, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I was firing arrows and not realizing it because I was just like talking to the microphone.
Yeah, CryEngine was like always a generation ahead for its engine.
That sucks. What are they doing now? They're just hunting Showdown? They're just hunting Showdown?
Well, they're making the next Crisis.
Are they really?
Yeah. They announced it like a year ago.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, I remember that announcement.
The only other game that's using CryEngine that I know of is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Interesting.
And then that Wolves and Lords of Mayhem used CryEngine, that ARPG. But yeah, outside of that, I don't know. I don't think they're like licensing the engine like they used to.
Wolves and Lords of Mayhem is a game that I've only ever heard uttered from your lips.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that's not. It's just like one of those. I've literally never heard of it or seen it in any other context other than you bringing it up occasionally over the last few years.
Cubic, as the Star Citizen was using at some point, they're using like their own version of it. They like a heavily modified version of it.
Yeah.
You probably still had to pay Crytek for it, I guess, right?
A Sonic game the Sonic Boom was made on CryEngine. I forgot about that.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, to throw everything at the wall. We talked a lot about Sony. We mentioned Xbox before. Obviously, they have a pretty big fall with Indiana Jones coming, and Diablo got that expansion a little while ago. Call of Duty is now ostensibly an Xbox game. Shout out to the ostensibly.
They're kind of on a little bit of a run, or it looks like they're leading up to a bit of a run. They just released a dev documentary on the Compulsion game, South of Midnight.
Looks good.
That looks so good right now.
Yeah.
That looks really cool.
It's also crazy. So the South of Midnight's the game that they showed off this summer, I think.
Yeah.
The showcases. That's sort of like a take on like southern, kind of like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, like southern like Gothic folklore of the area and stuff. Looks really fucking cool. The creative director is like from Mississippi, grew up there, and so like it was very much his story. Also, I was like, why does this guy seem kind of familiar? And it was just like, oh, just like a slightly older white dude. And I was like, what's this guy's deal? I click in. He just created the SOCOM franchise for PS2. Like he was just creating all those SOCOM games. I'm like, this is very different than those SOCOM games for PS2. But yeah, that Dev Diary looked sick as hell. And that's obviously one of their big games of next year. And Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, gave a couple interviews this week, with one with Bloomberg, one with Stephen Totillo, and a couple of like the big bites that came out of it were that the reason Avowed got pushed to next year wasn't because the game wasn't ready. Like the game was ready to come out this fall, they said, but it was just they felt like the Game Pass schedule was too packed and that they wanted to give it room to breathe.
I think that's smart.
I think that's smart because Avowed does not have like the name recognition behind it that a Call of Duty or a Diablo expansion.
And then they put it to February where it's completely burnt.
Where it's now, yeah, because everyone put their games in February. Yeah. They also he also said that going forward, no game is off the table from possibly getting a PlayStation port. And that it's interesting hearing that and then thinking about things that they've announced and talked about recently about how it's not a Gears 6, but it's a Gears prequel, and how the next Halo thing might be a Halo 1 remake before they jump into the next Halo thing. It almost feels like they're like, oh, let's clear the board. And then here's like the start of a new Gears thing and the start of a new Halo thing. And look, a nice introductory spot for all of our friends over at PlayStation. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I found that kind of interesting. And then also just mentioned that they are in the prototyping phase for a Microsoft dedicated handheld, but that it is still very, very far away, which not super surprising considering how lucrative Switch and Steam Deck are. I'm sure Microsoft wants their own version of that, and a handheld that can natively support Game Pass and everything sounds great.
Yeah, like that would actually be a big deal, and it's something that fans have been like waiting on, like even the idea of just like the dongle, where it's like, hey, just give me Game Pass in a form that I can plug in other places. Like maybe that will work for me, but like a dedicated handheld is a good idea, especially going off the success of these other things. It makes sense though that they would wait. Like Switch has like dominated the market. Valve got the Steam Deck out there and it's been doing well. It's way too late for them to join this party. They might as well wait until like they're refreshed. Like the Switch 2 is going to be out at some point, I assume. So at some point between, hey, the Switch 2 exists, this is what it is, and then here's our version, which just shits all over it in terms of power. Yeah. Like I think that's the sweet spot for them, which is where Valve kind of showed up when they did their Steam Deck.
Didn't you buy that dongle, Casey?
No, that was just the Amazon 4K thingy. Like, but they've not released like a dedicated like Game Pass device. But yeah, I do have the 4K. I do use it. It's okay. Like it's all right. Like the limitation really is on what Game Pass allows to be like cloud shareable, because not everything that's in the Game Pass library is like on cloud share or whatever. Like
yeah, that's right.
So like if everything was there, like that would be ideal.
The cloud thing is still like, even Sony just announced the November games that are coming to PlayStation Plus, and it was like Resistance 1 and 2, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I'm like, oh, they're still fucking cloud. Like you gotta play them on the cloud. I'm like, oh, fucking play games on the cloud. There's something about it. I just don't trust the cloud. I sound like a 100-year-old man literally yelling at a cloud.
Going back to the exclusives thing for a second, I'm just going to maintain that, like, I just don't think exclusives matter to get people into the market for whichever console they want. But I think once you are in, it doesn't really matter anymore, because again, everything's digital. Are you going to leave your entire digital library behind to go to a new platform? No.
Yeah, it's rough.
Like you're stuck on the ecosystem once you're in, or you just get the other ecosystem. And so like it like, to me, it just seems silly at this point with how like consoles are structured and the digital age to not release those games on other consoles. Like I think it would have been stupid for Xbox to not release Indiana Jones on PS5. And I do think like the next Elder Scrolls, I do think that's not going to be exclusive anymore. Like it'd be silly to lose out on an insane amount of sales from Skyrim players by not putting that on PS5.
Yeah, if they had somehow taken over the market lead, then they could play those games. But like they're still just not there.
Yeah.
And
like,
or
Sony,
if the game was as big as the next Skyrim, which we don't know if it will be, because Starfield certainly wasn't as big. It wasn't the next Skyrim.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's a sci-fi thing. Like fantasy always does bigger than sci-fi.
But the thing, there hasn't been a Game of the Year Game Pass game yet. Day one Game Pass Microsoft. Like we don't know, right? Because like despite all these studios they own, like who knows what would happen if they would have been like Call of Duty's not coming to PlayStation anymore. Like I don't know what would have happened if this game just didn't come to PlayStation. Like I don't want that to happen. I want more people to do that, but there's just no. I don't know. There's just no like. How many people are going to sign up for this thing? Eric, you mentioned Hi-Fi Rush, and then that came to other consoles, and that was like small tier Game of the Year. I mean, like a generation-defining game, like a Skyrim, a Witcher, a Last of Us, a Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, like what? Like what is the possible best game out right now? It just hasn't been from it.
And there's like incredible games like Forza Horizons, incredible, but like that's not that like.
Yeah. You know, my gut tells me Fable is going to be that pivotal moment for Xbox.
I don't see it. Like Fable has always kind of been second banana.
But this is a new Fable. It's from Playground Games. It's from a studio.
It's a developer
new Fable.
Yeah,
but it's Fable. It's a long-standing IP. Like I don't know. Like
this seems to have so little to do with the old Fables. I mean, they're going for a completely different art style, gameplay, everything.
I understand that completely, but we are in the game of IPs. So like Fable has its position in the pantheon of just rankings. Like I don't think it's going to break out just because it's like
also,
a brand.
Anyone under 20 remember Fable?
Right,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like it's a whole new IP for the vast majority of people that are going to be interested in it.
My biggest question mark with Fable: do we have an example of a developer who has pivoted so hard from a genre they're known for to something else and had it really succeed? Like really? Playground is incredible, top of class at open world racing games.
Oh, freaking
Guerrilla Games.
Yeah,
kills down.
I guess went from pretty linear shooters to dinosaur games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dinosaur games I don't care about that sell 30 million copies. And I still think Horizon Zero Dawn the Horizon franchise is a psyop. Like I do not understand those numbers.
Yeah, I don't think they're that good.
There's a Lego Horizon game that's just out. I think it's like you can play it on Switch. What's going on?
I feel like that about most Sony exclusives. Like I don't think any of them are that good. It's just
at least you know people who are like fucking. I'd play Spider-Man 5 times, or I have a Last of Us Ellie tattoo. Like
Amy loved freaking Horizon. She was big on that.
Loves those tall necks. I did like
that's what did it. That's what did it.
It's like any game that's got a big tall neck that I can climb. That's funny. Cool super chats. Before we move on, Denmark with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. Do I get a prize if I just slam down 4 more of these? That was when we were at 6 of 10 at our target goal, which is now a thing. However, Captain President then jumped in with separate messages, must reach, and then Denmark just said Persona 3, and Captain President got cucked and said goal at the end. So we saw a live cucking, which is wild. that was a sight to witness. So well done, everyone. Old Hunter, it's not Horizon hate. It's Horizon I don't get it. Like I don't think Horizon's a bad game.
It's not a bad game. It's a solid 7 in my mind. Just like Ghost of Tsushima, just like
Tsushima's better than 7.
It's a solid 7.
Remember the Ghost of Shiba Inu joke I told earlier?
The Ghost of Shashimi.
like Forbidden West and stick with me, but like the original Horizon, like I think it's kind of
that's the one that I had to nope out of. The original one was like,
I do think it is so funny that both those two games came out right within the window of Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. Like that is genuinely funny. And it sold really well, so I don't feel bad. Like it's not like, oh no, they took all of our copies. It's just maybe that's the reason I don't think about it, because I think about those other two games quite a bit. Because I'm weird. So yeah, that was just kind of. I don't think there's no conclusion we could come to from all that. Just an interesting moment to look back on the last 4 years, with obviously the asterisks of the pandemic throwing everything into a weird little one-off scenario.
I think there is a conclusion that like there just hasn't been like a next gen wow game that like feels like it really pushed the medium forward, at least from the big publishers. I think there's been a lot of indie stuff that has done that.
Will there ever be again? Like is one like around the corner, or like are we in?
Because like earlier, I think
we don't.
I think it'll be GTA 6. I think it's gonna be one of those games. I think Battlefield is gonna be one of them. And then
I don't feel
for Battlefield,
I could see GTA. I think
for GTA even, I feel like they're also at a point where it's like their last thing was such a big deal. It was such a game changer that it's to the scale where like we don't want to F this up. We don't want to make a big change or a big risk. We want to keep doing more of this. So like their next game is not going to be some sort of like massive leap forward in ideas. It's going to be more of the same, and like that's that stagnation of tech and money that we're in. Like that's what I'm looking at.
I'm not ready to
GTA. Yeah, GTA.
I'm not ready to bet against Rockstar.
Yeah, well, like that's the thing. Like I played and loved Red Dead Redemption 2, but I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in its open world, just kind of exploring and doing all kinds of stuff. And like every time I get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, there's some short video of something I missed in that world and some crazy detailed interaction that's not a quest, not anything. Like I saw this one the other day. There's like 6 different ways to interact with this guy that gets attacked by a wolf out in the world. And whether you if you point a shotgun at him, he has a different reaction. If you point a pistol at him, he has a different reaction. You can save him before the wolf attacks him. He can be attacked by the wolf and you just leave him to die. You can hand him medicine. You can hand him bandages. I'm like, this completely non-essential interaction in the world that has nothing to do with anything. No quest, no nothing. It's like, it's just there. Like that to me is like next gen-y stuff. And like that's what I'm really interested to see from GTA 6. Like how far do they take that, and like all these little minuscule interactions in the world. And like I bring up Battlefield not as a genre defining game, but more of like, are they going to
defining franchise?
A tech defining franchise? Yeah, they're going to bring back destruction in a big way. That like they've taken destruction back and back and back in the franchise because like, oh, it ruins the maps, like ruins the flow of the game, and people are like, that's what we want. We want to just blow the shit out of buildings and figure it out. Let us do it.
Yeah.
Stop with the Levolution, all the scripted bullshit. Let us have our sandbox and play in it, and just we will figure it out. If we destroy an entire building and we got to run around it, great. We'll figure it out. We don't need the cover. Just let us blow everybody up. And then like Fable, like we don't know much about Fable from a visual standpoint. I mean, look, it looks a leap ahead to me. And I'm curious, like, Playground really changed the racing scene with Forza Horizon. Like you have the Crew Motorfest that's trying to ape it now, and the new Test Drive tried to ape it a little bit too. To me, that game, something about that game, I just feel like has to be different from just another Witcher open world RPG, whatever they're going to do. And I think like my gut tells me that there's going to be some social element in there that surprises us, because the Fable is so much about the social elements of it.
And let's not forget Wolcen Lords of Mayhem.
That game's already out.
Or the 15% discount for Patreon.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I remember that too.
There is one other game that I'm like keeping an eye on as like a big next gen experience. Is that it's got a weird name, Inzoi. It's that
oh yeah, that's sort of
Sims
Yeah, that Second Life
Yeah.
Sims thing. That looks so fake. Like that somehow looks like an
does.
NFT scam.
Yeah, it does.
Like Dokkaebi.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Dokkaebi
just-
could have been that game.
just disturbingly hyper realistic Sims is what that game looks like.
Yeah, but that Paradox Interactive was doing like Life by You or something like that, and they canceled it to hit the finish line like a week before early access.
Yeah, I saw that. That was weird.
Yeah, Yahtzee and I got to see that at GDC 2 years ago. And they did not like having, as soon as I mentioned, oh, like, how does this compare to The Sims? They're like, don't talk about The Sims. I was like, oh, okay, kill me.
Don't compare it to The Sims? Really?
Yeah, even though it's by the guy that made The Sims.
Yeah. Don't compare it to The Sims. And for folks, Eric, you might not know, Inzoi is the game.
Inzoi.
It's a very terrible name. It's got a very nice cat on the. That does look fake. Look at that wedding. That's like a real wedding. The first image on the Steam page is just like a real ass wedding.
I think they did like a 10-minute breakdown of the game and like showed a lot of the mechanics and everything. If that thing comes out and does what it says it's gonna do, I mean, like that's something that's like Sims is gonna have real competition.
I think it looks too realistic.
Yeah, like
like controlling real people doing real things is always weird.
Yeah,
like this seems like something
Also
that
GTA.
would get real big in like a small section of the world. Like Korea's gonna eat this up, but then nobody else is gonna know what it is.
Yeah, Inzoi. I hope you can get a cat in that game. That'd be nice. Cool. Let's move on to what we've been playing, what we've been watching. I can jam through my two main things really quick, which I've already touched on, and I've already talked about on a bunch of other shows. I've been playing Slitterhead, and I've been playing Mario and Luigi Brothership. Slitterhead, I am just fucking continually delighted by. I think I'm getting very close.
Okay, you're into it.
I am so into it, and it is Casey. It is this year's Wanted Dead. It's Wanted Dead. I literally shouted you out at the end of my Patreon post about it this week. I said, this is one of those games that like 5 to 10 years from now, your favorite YouTuber is going to make a banger 40-minute video on saying everyone slept on this game and it's actually genius and here's why. And I said, so you can either get aboard the Slitter train, you can wait for that to happen, or you could just follow us because Casey's already doing that. And I linked your
Nice.
Because you're already a soothsayer when it comes to these kinds of games. This is a game by.
No, I was gonna say I saw this at PAX and was thinking of Marty, like, oh, I should give this a try and tell Marty like what it looks like. But like the line was kind of long, and also it looked so janky.
Really
So, like I was
janky.
standing there watching the gameplay, like I don't know if I want to waste my time.
It is really janky. And as speaking of, earlier talking about Itsuno and folks like him and Mikami and everyone, this is by the creative director of Silent Hill 1 and Siren and the Gravity Rush games, left Sony Japan studio and formed his own studio, Bokeh Studio, which has a lot of folks who worked on those games, including the original Silent Hill. This game feels like a melding of all three of those things. It feels like it has the sort of the atmosphere and otherworldly nature of Silent Hill. It has direct mechanics from Siren, including like the various playable characters that each have their own unique abilities, as well as the ability to literally like mind jack into villains and see through their eyes, which is something Siren did. And the city has that like cramped, claustrophobic feel that you can kind of glide through in the same way that you could in Gravity Rush. And this is a game, I made a joke earlier, it just feels like this was a PS3 game that they forgot about. Like they cracked open like an airtight vault and was like, oh shit, we made this game, we forgot to release it. And then they release it now. And it makes me miss the Sony of that era that was just doing weird shit and making Tokyo Jungle and Africa and Rain and even other developers making stuff like 3D Dot Heroes and just these weird kind of like one-off experimental things. Really, really enjoying this. It is janky as hell, but I just thoroughly am enjoying it so far. It's also it's not open world. It's just got levels. Remember levels? Remember when a game would just be like, here's some fucking levels?
It's weird. But I guess that's how they get, because I saw some of the Slitterhead stream that you were on with Jay.
Mhm.
And
Or Jesse. Jesse was my
Jesse.
Slitterhead.
Sorry, yeah,
My Slitterino. He's a fellow Slitterati.
and like just the level of detail in the city and like all like the interiors and stuff. I was very surprised by. I was like, oh, but I also thought it was an open world. But that kind of makes sense now if you're saying that it's actually level based.
That you load into a level and you're in a small little slice of the city and you can only go to these things. So yeah, and that's where you get some of those. So infatuated with Slitterhead. And then I'm about 7 or 8 hours into Mario and Luigi Brothership, and it is it's fine so far, I guess. Like it's visually and the writing is very charming in the way that most Mario RPG games are. I like the core, like everything revolves around these like light socket electrical like puns, like the whole thing. Like the Mario RPG games are always like Jack and I were goofing how it feels like they came in at the last minute. Like, you know, when a kid comes into show and tell and forgets to bring something from home and is like, I got this folder. Like, it feels like they come to the room and they're like, what is the theme of our game? And they're like, stickers, because they look at a sticker. It's like, origami.
Right.
And this one is just like light sockets. The theme of our game is light sockets. But it leans into it really well in terms of characters and enemies and places you go to and puns and everything. The reason I'm a little iffy on it is because so far, at least, it feels like every time you get to a new island, you just do the same thing to get to the end of it. Like the battle system, once you learn what an enemy attacks like you are just going through the motions every time, even though it is that active battle system where you need to jump over certain things. You need to, time your buttons to dodge or to hit. It just feels like every time you get to a new area, you just do the same thing over and over and over until you get to the end of that area. That said, I've heard from several reviews that the game does not start on a strong foot and that it just keeps getting better. And I'm looking at this footage Eric's playing right now, and I'm like, fuck, all that stuff looks fun. I want to do that stuff. So I'm going to stick with it because apparently it's a pretty long game, but I'm hoping it grabs me more.
Like, I really, really love the art style they've chosen for this. And like the animation and work that is in it, like, is just really eye-catching. And for that alone, I would like give it a shot. So hopefully, like you're saying, it does increase its like playability and like get more fun over time. Because I really want to see more of this. Like I would love like just any amount of Mario content that just looks and moves like this does.
The animation has so much style to it. You're 100% right. Like it has this like they're like very elastic. They almost feel like Looney Tunes in this way that Mario usually doesn't. And it just feels so playful to look at and even to see in battle. It's just that playfulness starts to wear and tear a little bit when you fight the same enemy 30 times in a row and you're kind of seeing the exact same animations over and over. So yeah, we'll see.
So the footage has both brothers running all over the place. Do you control them both? How does that work? So
yeah, you control Mario and Luigi just runs behind you, but then you have a dedicated jump button for Luigi and a dedicated hammer button for Luigi, and then you can like hold one of the triggers and Luigi will kind of context do things. So like if you're near a bunch of blocks that you can hit with a hammer, you can hold the trigger and Luigi will go hit him with a block. Or there's certain puzzles where it's like, oh, I need Luigi to be manning a switch while I control Mario to go on a platform. And so I need to jump on a platform, Luigi hits the switch, and then I jump to the next platform and Luigi hits a switch again. So yeah, it's not like it's not like that Brothers game where you where you had full control over two brothers at the same time. It's more of like I don't know, soft control over an AI character.
Okay. That's probably better, honestly, than controlling them both simultaneously.
Yeah, I feel like
that's probably the worst part of the Brothers game was that you actually control them both at the same time.
What? I think the worst part was I was very sad at the end. Oh no,
that's the best part. The sad part was the best part.
Yeah. I really want to see what they do. What Hazelight does next.
I feel like we'll know at the Game Awards.
The Game Awards, yeah. Him and Keely are BFFs. Yeah,
they've been teasing it for a couple weeks now.
Nice.
That's the name of the game and everything.
They said the name of the game?
They were teasing the name of the game. They keep putting out a document, and I think people are.
Yeah, that's probably going to
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's it for me. Casey, what have you been doing?
Yes, I had all of last week off, so I spent a lot of that time just watching a ton of stuff. Also at the start of that week, I did get some time with the Monster Hunter Wilds beta.
Oh, nice.
So That Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm very excited for, but at the same time, also very like it's a very bittersweet feeling because that game feels like the very natural direction of Monster Hunter World, which was a fantastic game, really broke that franchise open for like the Western audience. And this is like taking that formula and like expand because like I only had access, I believe, to like the first area, but it feels like whereas you would be sequestered to a village, you have to do stuff in the village, which is like kind of your camp, and then you're sent out onto like the different levels. This is like everything is kind of happening on one giant map. Like the village is a big campground, so all the people you need to talk to exist in the world. And if like similar like Red Dead Redemption 2, like your campground is in one location in the world, and when you just leave the campground, you're out in the world. That's and cool. Like the monsters you're hunting are just around, and the hunt starts dynamically as you like engage with whatever creature that you're actually looking for. And like that, it just feels like a much more free version of that gameplay loop that just will allow you to get very, very lost in just doing all the hunts and getting all the gear and stuff. That being said, it really did leave behind everything that I loved from Rise. Because Rise just it feels like a much faster, fluid game. Like all that stuff that the Wirebug introduced that lets you kind of slingshot yourself around and swing and double jump, and then like all these moves that add like a ton of movement to every single weapon. Like every single weapon, which have been in the game for like years and years now, got like 3 to 6 additional attacks that just add to like the repertoire because of the Wirebug. All that's gone. So like it. In that aspect, it does feel like a slower game, especially with certain weapons that are like are traditionally very slow. Like you used to in Rise be able to like use the Wirebug with the greatsword and like launch yourself across like a huge distance, like like a spinning blade to hit a monster, which is just super satisfying. It's just gone now. Like you just can't do that sort of thing anymore, and it's disappointing. To compensate, like they've added the focus mode, which I didn't really get the hang of in the moment, but it's supposed to help, especially with those sort of like more rigid weapons, where in the middle of a combo where like you start and like you're just swinging off at nothing because the monster has moved, you can redirect yourself by like hitting focus button in the middle of a combo. I wasn't able to really get that to work. It doesn't seem like super intuitive, at least as a newbie messing with it. But like maybe that'll end up being like something very useful. But that's nowhere near as exciting as all the freaking nutso anime junk that the Wirebug's introduced. So like I'm of two minds about it. Like I really love the concept of what they're introducing, but I really do miss a lot of those mechanics that just made the last game insane to play.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. Like I'm definitely gonna give it a shot when it comes out. But some of the Wirebug stuff in Rise did take a while to unlock. Like you start kind of like you still have like the basic stuff that lets you like swing around, but you get like the special weapon moves after putting some time in. I'm hoping that maybe there's other mechanics that will expand like the way your weapons feel and move in this as well. So like there's still hope for that.
Yeah. I am Ravnos in the chat said 10,000 hours in the series, which is fucking
Jesus Christ.
And Casey is 100% correct. Monster Hunter Wilds is a game that feels dumbed down for casual tourists.
I mean, I said the same thing about Rise because they streamlined so much of like the hunt in that you really just kind of went to base, did 2 or 3 things, and then ran out to like fight monsters, and it was like super fast. But it wasn't until like all the Wirebug stuff came up that I got like really, really hooked on just the play. So like maybe this will find a better balance with that, where like maybe the hunt and strategic stuff will come more into play because that was very big in World. But then they'll slow down the hunt so that you really do have to like pay more attention to the monsters, like maybe use more like equipment and gear and planning, and maybe that will help even it out. Like there's no way to know right now because it was just a tiny slice of what that game is. But man, I miss those Wirebugs.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing.
Yeah. And I was so worried about that too, knowing that Rise was like this separate thing that went to Switch first and then got all these ports because it ended up being surprisingly good versus just like the next thing from the World team. So like those ideas are just very disconnected, it feels like. So outside of that, I finished Attack on Titan finally.
Congrats.
Um, that is a show that I believe is a classic. Like any aspiring anime fan, any fan of anime in general should watch Attack on Titan.
Agreed.
Its ending, I understand why it's controversial. There's a lot of media nowadays that play in this realm. Like The Boys was doing it with their most recent season, where it's like, hey, we have themes here that are supposed to be a damnation of a practice, but the audience doesn't seem to get it. The audience seems to really think that these characters are cool and the good guy.
Yeah.
So at some point, we have to let them know this is bad.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, it does feel heavy-handed, and it does feel like it's specifically calling out those fans, and so those fans have the reaction of, oh, this ending is bad. And it kind of is bad. Like, their reasons for it being bad are not the same reasons why it's actually bad. They're just mad that their hero now looks like a bitch. But it's bad because it does take the nuance out of letting the audience understand why this character is not the hero he thinks he is or was portrayed to be by the end of the story. Like, they just spell it out for you, and like, I don't think that's just good storytelling.
Every time a franchise does it, I almost universally love it, and people get so mad at it. I feel like Ryan Johnson did it with The Last Jedi. I don't know, Wachowski did it with the fourth Matrix.
Yes, this has been happening a lot.
The end of Evangelion does the same thing, where it's like, oh, you like Shinji? Oh, okay, well, here he is. He's cranking off bedside next to his friend who's in a coma. You like this little sick boy? I love it.
You brought up The Boys. I did not realize that was going to be accurately predict our election.
Oh yeah, that was pretty spot on.
I just got a real big sense of dread in the back of my head.
Yeah, like that writing has been on the wall. All of our media has been reflecting it back at us this whole time. And folks are refusing to see it. But again, like that ending is a little on the poor side, but overall, fantastic. Like all the stuff leading up to it, the fight sequences, the animation, even the plot, like the details of the plot, aside from just that sort of like dump at the end where they say, hey, here's all this stuff that you didn't know beforehand. Outside of that, I thought it was super well done. Like, bravo to that team in that series.
Mm-hmm.
I also caught up on That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. That's just a delightful show to watch in general. Season 3. And I think the thing is, I knew this, but I guess it's been so long since I went back and watched the series that I forgot how much of that show is actually just Game of Thrones. Like it's really? The characters. Yeah, like the characters have built a society for monsters, right? But in order to do that in this world, like they have to make deals, they have to set up trade routes, they have to do infrastructure. And a lot of the episodes in season 3 are literal meetings of the main character, who's the slime king of his country now, and all of these lieutenants who he's like gathered around and given jobs within the kingdom, and like just saying like, hey, what's going on with that situation? And they just sit there and tell him like, oh, well, this happened, that happened, we gotta figure out how to do this. And he's like, what about that? And then somebody else will chime in like, you know what, we got some guys who do this, what if we helped you do that? And they're like, yes, that's great. Also, they're like, great job, everybody. Let's move on to the next topic. And it's so interesting. Like, it's not at all boring. Like, I binged through this so quickly. Like, there's like 26 episodes in the season. I finished it in 2 days because I couldn't get enough of just seeing how they built out their world, their infrastructure, how they defended it from threats, because other people outside of it are like, well, these are monsters. We can't just let them do what they want. We gotta investigate. We gotta send some folks to hurt them. And then like they beat them down. They want to be peaceful. Like, look, you attacked us. If we killed you, you'd be real mad. But let me just show you how strong we are, and then maybe we can work something out. Like, this was a big misunderstanding. Like, what you got? You got like berries or something? Maybe you can use that over here. They like start making deals and stuff. It's just super engaging and entertaining. But everything is like there's bad stuff that happens. But overall, it's just a very uplifting feeling show. Like, it really leaves you in like a happy place to see what it's like when different entities try and work together and what they can achieve. Like, it's is really positive in that way, and I'm having a great time with it.
Metaphor Re Fantasio has a similar theme.
So again, I've been watching a lot. So on the opposite spectrum, though, I watched the Mr. McMahon documentary in its entirety as well on Netflix. So this is Vince McMahon's sort of WWE history, like how basically like the origins of like how the WWE started, because it was a wrestling company run by his father, who he was estranged from until he was like 12 years old. Mm-hmm. First of all, Vince McMahon led a crazy life. Like he has a tragic history. Like he was like abused as a child. Like he didn't know his father for a long time, probably because his mother seemed to also suffer from some sort of mental illness and was like abusive to him as well. But once he did get into his father's life, that's how he got introduced to all the wrestling stuff. He worked for his dad for a long time, bought the company from his dad. Like he wasn't handed it. Like he literally worked and bought it out from under his dad, who did not want to give it to him, but bought it, made it into like the biggest freaking wrestling entertainment thing. And then like they went through the whole story of like how he basically created Hulk Hogan into like this worldwide known, what's the name? Like how he had beef with like WCW, like their back and forth, how he bought it from under them. And all of the scandals, whatever, that followed them throughout the years, all the way up to the present day, where like he forced out of the company because of several sexual misconduct allegations, which the documentary keeps referencing it, but like they filmed all that stuff before that came out. So like they let you know like all these talks and stuff is just before most of that stuff happened, and he was like ousted from the company. But the thing that really stuck with me is how many times they sort of revealed how prominent the WWE is as a sort of mirror of American culture. Like the stuff they would do in the ring and the stories they would tell would directly reflect things that were happening in the real world, not just because Vince McMahon was the writer of those sort of storylines and he would use his own life. Like a lot of stuff was just stuff that he was doing, stuff that he was happening between him, his family, interpersonal stuff with other wrestlers, but like stuff that was happening in the world. Like, hey, let's comment on the Iran-Iraq Operation Desert Storm or whatever. Like, like he would just pull from headlines to try to make
Sergeant
interesting
Slaughter
stories
defected,
in the ring. So that stuff would reflect back to the fans, who would then react back in like and it would turn into this melodrama of the real world that hyper focused on just what America is. So when you look back, especially at old wrestling, and you see how insane it got in terms of like the violence, the over-sexualization, like the racism, that's America. Like you can see all throughout WWF/E history what America was. That like when we look at the news and when we look at like our neighbors and stuff, you sit there and wonder, did they vote for who I think they voted for? Like it's kind of laid bare in all the wrestling storylines in like this really fascinating way. So I think that's actually incredible. Like for that alone, it might be worth going back to watching wrestling. Which I've not done in a very long time, but just to get a glimpse of like what's the temperature of the country right now.
I got back into wrestling this year.
Wrestling will probably tell you.
Yeah, I've gotten back into watching wrestling. I pop in every once in a while. I watch the pay-per-views. It's coming to Netflix next year. Like the big deal. Like wrestling's just all WWE is gonna be on Netflix next year.
I'm gonna hear you, Marty.
Do you hear me? Am I talking? Oh,
I hear you.
He hears me.
I don't know what happened to my sound.
Casey voided himself.
Time.
Can you hear us now? You know what? Okay. While Casey figures that out, Nick, what have you been watching and playing?
Casey, can you hear me? No, you can't hear me.
You just got to roll through with it.
Yeah.
It's back.
Oh, it's back.
Yeah,
I thought you were just being an asshole. A couple times I tried to chime in and you just steamrolled through me. I was like, well, goddamn, I guess I don't have anything to say about wrestling either.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I couldn't hear you guys. I don't know when
I was trying to talk about when Sergeant Slaughter defected to Iraq during the
they talked about that in the documentary too.
Wow, you two just had like a whole conversation where Casey heard none of it.
It was great. Honestly, that's most every Thursday at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. is much funny. No, that's great. Highly recommend that talk as well. You watch or play anything else, Casey?
I did. I'll only bring up one more thing though. Invincible Fight Girl. There's a new Adult Swim animated series.
I thought there was like an Invincible spin-off series. I had
Oh,
heard.
no.
I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, this is not related to the Amazon show Invincible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is basically like it's an American anime. Like it's clearly like an anime inspired. But if anyone remembers the also Cartoon Network show OKKO, which was like this is a world of superheroes kind of just living mundane lives, but everyone's a superhero. It's sort of that, but with wrestling. And the main character, like it's got shonen energy, and that the main character wants to be a wrestler, but like they're not from the wrestling world. Like they grew up on an island of accountants or whatever, and her family history is like, oh, accounting is in our blood. But she wants to be a wrestler because she was inspired by this legendary wrestler as a kid. So it's the story of her essentially going out on her own, trying to do this thing that's supposed to be impossible, and her journey succeeding, her journey trying to succeed at that. It's very funny. One. It's the voice work is like super impressive. Like everyone sounds so natural and hilarious. Like just the dialogue back and forth between characters. It looks great. Like the colors, like the environments. It's over the top in the way that anime tends to be. And it's a really fun watch. Like there aren't like only 3 episodes are out right now. Like it's being released, I want to say week by week. And as of now, like the stakes aren't like super high. It's just like you just want to see what happens next, right? Like, and you're rooting for the main character because like she's plucky, she's adorable, like she's got a dream, and you want to see if she can reach it. She's got that heart and spunk to like get it done. Like the first episode has like a really cool fight in it. That's really just her like getting her ass kicked.
Yeah,
but it's like you're rooting for her the whole way through. But it's a really fun watch. I hope it becomes like a deeper thing, because like it does feel very surface level right now. But again, it's at the very beginning of its story. Like have we met, I think, like the whole roster of characters who are gonna like be hanging out with her. Like this is the sort of thing I want to see more of, like more original, like Western animation. Like I love it. And I want to see more stuff that blends the two. Like they've taken a ton of inspiration from just anime stuff, but like tell us a goofy story about like a black girl from Accountant Island. Like I love stuff like that.
Sounds great. Didn't even know that existed until now. Putting on a queue.
Yeah, everybody watch it so it doesn't get canceled.
Warrior.
Don't worry, Adult Swim under the Zaslav umbrella. Everything's safe. Everything's fine.
Yeah, that's all I got right now.
Awesome. Nick, what about you? What have you been playing and watching?
I have been playing. Well, first of all, I went back and finished Resident Evil 4 Remake finally.
Congrats.
Yeah, I played through a bunch of it when it came out, and then I assume other things came. I think was that around the same time as Shadow of the Earth Tree?
It was no, because it was last year. Shadow of the Earth Tree was 2 years.
That was
Shadow of the Earth Tree was this year.
ago then. Well, yeah, I went back and finally I just decided I wanted to finish it after Halloween was over for some reason, so went back and finished that. Really enjoyed it. Like it's just a well-paced campaign throughout the entire thing. Like there's never a boring moment in Resident Evil 4. Yeah. So like completely understand why it's the most popular of the series.
Yeah. It's really fucking good. The remake's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that did make me want to go play Resident Evil 5 just to see. I owned the game when it came out. I never finished it, so I want to go back and just go through it. And then I picked up the Revelations games as well. I don't have much of any interest in playing 6.
Have you played the 2 remake?
Yeah. Played the 2 remake. I haven't played the 3 remake yet though.
Yeah, 3 remake kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's mostly what I've heard. I skipped 3 and 6.
Yeah.
And then so I finished that, and then I've been working on Dragon Age, obviously. I'm basically running into the problem that I think a lot of the reviewers had, where like the first 6 to 8 hours or so is a little not very well paced. The writing's fine. Like I don't really see any of the issues that people are complaining about. But the pace is like you're basically going through and collecting all the characters that you need to fill out your party, and the pacing just feels kind of all over the place. But it sounds like after you get done with getting all those characters, it starts to smooth out and get more into like the actual story of what's going on and all that. So I love the gameplay of it. I'm glad it's not open world. You mentioned levels in Slitterhead, like basically Dragon Age has levels too, and it's all, you know, nice and self-contained, and there's exploration if you want it. You don't have to do it. So it's like I guess it looks like it's linear, but there's a lot more depth than you might think. And so, yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I'm having a hard time sticking with it, and I know I just need to sit down and like really let myself get into it to really go and finish it. So I'll be looking forward to doing that. But the other game I returned to this past week was the Crew Motorfest, which I've kind of raved about quite a few times on this podcast. They actually just released their 5th season, and it came with a whole new island to explore. There's no loading screen or anything. They literally just created a bridge system that you can just drive on and go right to the new island, and it introduces all new races, all new locales, everything. And I've had a really good time, and that's like one of those games on the PS5 Pro that like actually feels like it got a nice boost, because before it had fidelity mode, which had ray tracing, and then performance mode, which was 60 frames. Now it has just when you play it on the Pro, it just has ray tracing and the 60 frames all together, and it's a very smooth, very fun experience.
That's what it seems like a lot of the PS5 Pro things are. Instead of having to choose one or the other, you get both. Like that's kind of, I guess, the big highlight. And this was Motorfest was the one that's just set in like Hawaii, right? Because like the Crew was originally like all of America, and then this is just Hawaii. Is that right?
Yeah, this one's just
a bunch
Hawaii.
of islands. Okay,
yeah, but it's like there's so much. I've never been to Hawaii, so but I guess it's accurately representing it. Like there's so much variation in environments on those islands.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't me trying to be like it's only Hawaii. It was mostly Oh, I know how varied Hawaii can be. As someone who's watched Lost multiple times, Hawaii can be has all sorts of biomes. Yeah,
like those roads are over there though.
I don't think all the roads. I don't think there's roads going up into the volcanoes, as far as I can tell. But I don't know. I've never been there. I also don't think you can fly a plane and then like just change into a car while you're in midair and keep driving.
Oh no, they got those now.
Yeah, okay.
They got those. Any sick volcanoes? Are there any levels where like a volcano erupts and you got to outrun lava?
Not yet. Okay. Thank God. You know what? Playing this game makes me miss MotorStorm Apocalypse.
Yeah, that was.
Why the fuck aren't we getting MotorStorm games anymore? What are you doing, Sony? If you like Forza Horizon, like the Crew Motorfest, it's not as good, but like they copied their homework and did it really well. So if you want a racing game that is really going to hook you in, I would highly recommend the Crew Motorfest. Like I think I've put like 50 hours into it now. I really like it a lot.
Damn.
There you go. Why there's so many British racing developers? Evolution, British. Playground, British. There's 2.
Wasn't Top Gear a British show?
Gotta be British. Do British just like cars?
That's why.
Yeah, I guess the British like cars. So you would think James more Bond, American developers will make cars.
Yeah, that is my dream car. James Bond's Aston Martin.
Is Criterion UK too?
Criterion's UK? What's going on here?
We just discovered something.
Got to the bottom of it. Yeah.
And then, of course, to piss off some people on the internet, my mom and I have been rewatching The Acolyte together. And that show is much better.
Bad? Is that no? I'm kidding. I like The Acolyte. I liked it. I liked it.
It's much better as a binge series than it was a weekly series. Sure. Much like a lot of Disney stuff. Yeah. The pacing feels right when you're binging it. So I'm actually enjoying it a lot more on this rewatch than I did as a weekly series. Still, some of the writing still not great in it early on, but as far as the action scenes go, like I'm more than happy to watch it just for that.
Great.
Yeah,
yeah, and I agree. Some of the writing's a little flimsy. I like the cast.
Cast.
Love Manny Jacinto as the bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
The third episode. My mom has watched Star Wars before, but Manny Jacinto goes through and just murders everybody. She was like just gasping the entire like what? this is Star Wars. And then he stabs that one girl 3 times in a row. And she's like, what the fuck just happened?
Listen, Anakin killed a bunch of children. It's fine. These are adults.
It was implied child murder.
These are soldiers he's killing. Yeah.
It wasn't implied. He straight up murdered her. What is?
They didn't
what
show
is
it.
Yeah, he did.
No, I'm talking about Anakin.
Oh, yeah.
Anakin.
You just see that lightsaber gone. Yeah.
What was the line he said? Oh, yeah. Soul just goes, she was a child. He's like, it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He refers to her as an it.
It.
Rude.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. He's great.
Speakeasy.
Okay, wait, I turned back around. I like the Acolyte. I'm back.
Yeah, she's seen Order 66 Speakeasy, but I think you're like he's a brutal ass character in that show.
Also, I think if you're older, you just think of Star Wars as
like more family
the
friendly.
the original 3 movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
You know, the worst thing that happened is like your dad cut your hand off, which is a bummer. Like, admittedly, a bummer.
Cut your hand off and threw you down a big hole.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah.
No,
Star Wars,
yeah.
it's back.
You're on the rewind. We talked about Arcane over there, which I'm gonna go watch the 3rd episode tonight. But oh my God,
Yeah, have you watched Arcane yet, Casey? You watched season
not
1, right?
yet. Yeah, I did watch season 1. It's fantastic. That's a binger, so I'm not gonna give it the arc.
It's got that nice
treatment
release
that it's doing.
schedule though, where it's 3 episodes.
Yeah, I heard that. That is better.
So
maybe
like in a week
I
and a
can
half,
be
it'll
tempted.
dropped. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll be tempted to jump in.
You could do a season 1 rewatch.
There's so many other things to watch.
Yeah, but how do you remember what was going on? I did my rewatch. I forgot all those characters.
Because you don't
You're
watch the
lost
show.
every time you rewatch.
No, I feel like I watched that one. I feel like I watched that one. When it's good, I give it the full shabam.
All right.
Arcane's great. Man, it is insane how much I'm day one for any animated series that studio does in the League of Legends universe, and I don't care about anything else in the League of Legends universe. Like, I genuinely don't. Yeah.
Ruined King is a good JRPG. Like, if you wanted to try something that's League of Legends adjacent with a good story, I'd go try that game.
Does it have an Imagine Dragons song in it?
No.
Said I was brave enough to admit that I think the Imagine Dragons intro is a never skipper. Like, I fucking love that intro, and I got roasted in the comments. And I'm like, I don't like Imagine Dragons. I just think this song with the art behind it is sick.
It's a good intro. Like, it has nothing. It has very little to do with Imagine Dragons, but they are a part of it, and you can't deny them that.
Yeah, I got fucking roasted. I got deservedly roasted in the comments, so I'll take that one.
I need to go back and wrap up. Yellowstone was just its part 2 of its final season, which it sounds like it. I've seen all the news stories about it. Game of Thrones did. I'm like, oh no.
Well, it was. I mean, it was. They had to, because they just couldn't come to a deal with Kevin Costner, because Kevin Costner's like, well, I also need to film all 4 parts of the movie that I've liquidated my assets to film, and my wife has left me because I want to make this 4-part Western. And they're like, well, you need to be here for the show. And he's like, what if I'm not? We're gonna handle it away, and people aren't gonna like it.
Yeah, I finished season 4, and I just haven't kept up on season 5. So I need to go finish it. But now that I know it's Game of Thrones, I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, it's not.
It's very hard
to
to
not watch the show, but has watched what they've done this season. It's not Game of Thrones thing. It's like, well, how do you fix a problem like that?
But well, you can't just bring back Jon Snow from the dead in Yellowstone. It doesn't work that way in the show.
Jon Snow, but he came back from. It was fucking red magic. It's fine.
Well,
Yeah, and that happens in the books, right?
I think so. Isn't that like that's a Martin?
Yeah. But
like,
that's what I'm saying.
You can't blame Benny Off and Weiss on that.
You can't pour Bud Light on somebody in Yellowstone and expect them to come back to life. So
That would be sick. Could you imagine that?
Is that
only Past Blue Ribbon can do that.
is that possible?
We're gonna see. Shout out to Kevin Costner, friend of the show. I think that's it. I think we did it. I can't believe it. We did great. Oh my god, under 2 hours. What a great show. Casey, what do you? Oh no! Before we do what we got going on, Denmark with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Denmark. Sometimes you want to skip the side stuff and murder an electric wang monster in deafening silence, and that's why I like Rise. Does Monster Hunter Rise have an electric wang monster?
I think several of the games do.
What's crazy is I thought he was talking about Persona because Persona.
Yeah, that sounds like a very Persona thing, but yeah.
That first egg creature you fight in Metaphor is fucking weird.
Yeah, and then you got that dude just like spitting bars in the song.
Get to the first like big monster boss in Metaphor. If you're not hooked after that,
this is post Army Fort, right?
This is after.
Yeah, it's like you need to get to the top of the. It's like you fight it at the top of the castle.
It's so weird. It's the weirdest design creature I've ever.
No, it's the thing you fight in the Army Fort, right? The thing at the top of the Army Fort.
No, not that thing. The big boss after the first big dungeon.
Oh, the guy at the top, like when you have 20 days to do it. Yeah, the big boy. There's a lot of big boys.
Egg boy. Okay.
Egg boy with people dancing inside of it.
We love an egg boy. Casey, what do you got going on? What your folks check out in your neck of the woods?
The usual. Follow me on social media at Sigma Gears 9. Don't have any videos on the horizon, but should be back doing the Metroid Prime playthrough with Marty tomorrow. We'll be doing the all-day stream Saturday for our 1-year anniversary. So I'll be there for a lot of that. And I think that's it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and as a reminder, that starts at, I keep telling people 10 a.m. It starts at 11 a.m.?
Technically starts at 10:45 a.m. with announcements.
Starts at several different AMs depending on your time zone.
Yeah. Fuck, that's even crazier. 11 a.m. Central. Well, a little bit earlier is when our announcements are going to be. Then we're going to start playing games at 11 a.m. Central on Saturday. So tune in for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Nick, what do you got going on?
I'll have a new Unpacked script next week, or an Unpacked video next week. Script tomorrow. I'm not going to share the topic yet. I'll let it be a surprise. My brain went to places today. So you'll enjoy that one, I think. And then, join us on Saturday for our all-day event. Our schedule is up in the Discord and on Blue Sky and on Twitter for how much longer we're on Twitter. And then it's on the Patreon as well. And then we will share it on the YouTube community tab if you're on none of those platforms by tomorrow. So be there and have that we'll be playing 3 different games with the community, or 2 different games with the community. 3 different games, sorry. Mario Kart 8, Golf with Your Friends, and Fall Guys. So have those downloaded if you would like to take part. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribed to us over on Patreon yet, that's what we're focusing on for this event. 15% off all of our tiers and memberships, both monthly and annual. So go join up with that. And then, yes, my man also points out the AMA with Yahtzee over on Reddit on Friday will be on our games. Mostly focused on Yahtzee, talking about making sure people know where to find Fully Emblematic, because we get comments every week. They're like, "Oh, 0 punctuation isn't just dead." I'm like, yeah, there it is.
What time is that on Friday?
11 a.m. Central will be starting. The thread will be up an hour before at 10, so you can start submitting questions there.
Lovely. Hell yeah, a lot of stuff going on. And then before we wrap up, Thomas Kingsley with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Thomas. All of the monsters in Metaphor Refantasior modeled after the art of the Dutch 16th century painter Hieronymus Bosch. Hell yeah. Garden of Earthly Delights. That dude saw hell. That dude had something with him, and he just saw hell when he closed his eyes. And then he would open his eyes in the morning, and he'd be like, I'm going to paint hell. You don't just come up with that. You are literally seeing demons in your dreams if you're that dude.
This is
trying to get Hieronymus Bosch on Windbreakers, but he's been dead for 500 years. So
it's a tough get, but we're still working on it.
Proven to be difficult, but yeah, we're not going to stop. So yeah, check out all the stuff that everyone mentioned. Tomorrow, like Casey said, we'll be back 7 p.m. Central with Metroid, but also at 3 p.m. Central tomorrow, Jack and I will be doing a sponsored stream for Mind Cop, which let me tell you, we're very excited for.
If you like puzzle,
all cops are bad except if they're mind cops.
Yeah,
those sound like worse cops, honestly.
No, it's like a detective. Detectives are good. Cops are bad. That's not a thing I should say. I'm not gonna...
What about Jake Peralta? He's both
Jake
a cop.
By the end of the show, he's a detective. Detective Jake Peralta.
He's also a cop.
Detectives are fine. So yeah, tune in for that tomorrow. And yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in today. We appreciate you, everyone on YouTube, everyone who listens in your various podcast services of choice. We appreciate you all. So for Nick and Casey and Eric, this was Marty. This was Firelink episode number 44. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye y'all.